Hey, what's happening, everybody? Brent Axe here from syracuse.com, and we are live. We're live on Facebook. We're live on the syracuse.com Syracuse basketball Facebook page, and we are here on the heels of a terrific win by the Syracuse basketball team tonight over Maryland, a 72-70 final at the Carrier Dome. The Orange are 6-0, and they've got a pretty significant non-conference win in their back pocket with a big matchup coming up on Saturday against Kansas. But let's talk about this one first. If you're here on Facebook with us live, please like and share this post. Let people know that we're here chatting with you after this Syracuse basketball win. And, we're going to be doing this during the Syracuse basketball season. Some of you may know, if you're watching, that we did this for football. And we enjoyed it so much, we're going to drop in and do it for some non-conference basketball games. I'll be here, obviously, tonight after the Kansas game on Saturday and after Syracuse plays UConn coming up next week. We'll pick a couple other games during non-conference play, maybe that St. Bonaventure game, Georgetown, a couple big non-conference games, and then we'll be here throughout the ACC slate as well. So usually the plan is I'll pop on here on Facebook Live after Jim Boeheim's press conference is over. So here we are. And again, please like and share. Let people know that we're doing this, and hop in those comments there and tell us what you thought about a terrific Syracuse win tonight. When you really look at it, last season, the biggest issue for Syracuse was non-conference wins or lack thereof. Syracuse was held out of the NCAA tournament last year primarily because they couldn't win a non-conference game. Well, to get this in your back pocket at home is big because, you're going to have a pretty stiff test against Kansas coming up on Saturday. That's on a neutral floor in Miami. That's a top 10 team, and it's going to be rough sledding for Syracuse there. Certainly they have an opportunity to win this game if they played as well as they did tonight. And then you get Connecticut next week. So to get 2 out of 3, ideally, in this stretch of non-conference games is big for the Orange, and they got off to a great start tonight. Tyus Battle played, and you know what? He gutted it out there tonight. You could see he was in discomfort. You can see he clearly was not 100%, but he had a number of players step up for him for most of the game. But when it mattered down the stretch, there was Tyus Battle. That three-pointer to put Syracuse up 68-66 was huge. Got to the line a couple of times down the stretch, hit another couple of big shots down the stretch as well. But I'll tell you what, the thing you really got to be impressed by through this season so far as the Orange moved to 6-0 with this win is Frank Howard. Frank Howard is just a different human being this year. He is a different basketball player. You can see the confidence level that he is playing with. And tonight, how about Frank Howard almost has a triple-double, but not in the traditional sense. So Frank Howard with 15 points, 10 assists, and 7 steals. He had 5 steals in the first half, all over the defensive end. Maryland tonight had 18 turnovers. Syracuse cashed those in for 22 points off turnovers, and they needed them because Syracuse did not shoot well from the three-point line. Maryland certainly did, particularly Kevin Huerter, the Albany native who Syracuse did recruit, and we were talking about this during the game on the live chat, and we'll be doing live chats during every Syracuse basketball game this season, a little on social media, and it always comes up. When there's a player that's within that, kind of 3-4 hour radius, everybody always says, well, didn't Syracuse recruit that kid? Well, they did. They recruit every kid within the area of significance, but you just can't get them all. But boy, he's from Albany. He was hitting shots from Albany, particularly when they're coming down the stretch. And let's see here. Huerter hits a 3 with 7 seconds to go, and it's 70-69. And you're thinking, oh boy, here we go. But Syracuse respond, kind of a Hail Mary pass down to Tyus Battle. He dunks 72-69. Little tension down the stretch there with some free throws, but Maryland turned the ball over a couple of times, and Syracuse iced it. And, smart foul by Tyus Battle, too. Here's a guy who we know is going through this back injury situation right now, but he saved the best for last. We mentioned the shots that Tyus Battle made. He also had a really smart foul with 3 seconds to go, put Maryland on the line, and the rest is now history as the Orange win 72-70. But to go back to Frank Howard, man, that kid is playing with confidence. He is taking command. He could tell that even though Battle could play, and Jim Boeheim said at his press conference afterwards that he told me he could play, so he's going to get out there and play, that Howard knew he had to lead a little bit tonight. Howard had to play point guard tonight, and he did it, and he did it well. We mentioned the numbers that he had. This has just been a different player this year, and it's been huge for Syracuse. O'Shea Brissett ends up with 15 points. Now, he really had to shoot a lot to get there. He was 5 of 18 tonight, but I'm okay with that in this game because you want him to take the shots that are there, that are smart, and he did. He had about 4 or 5 shots that just didn't go, and he wasn't, he's a freshman. He's going to chuck up a few shots a game that maybe he shouldn't. But for the most part, was taking smart shots. This kid is aggressive. And I'll tell you what, O'Shea Brissett represents something with this team right now that I think Syracuse fans are embracing, that I think Syracuse fans appreciate, and Syracuse fans certainly want to see continue as we go through the entire season here. There's still a lot of basketball to be played. We're just crossing over into December here off the heels of Thanksgiving. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving weekend, by the way, everybody. But this team is different in 2 key areas. They are committed to rebounding the ball, and they out-rebounded a much bigger team that Syracuse has faced all season, certainly, and Maryland is a pretty big team overall. How about Fernando in the middle? My man with a couple big dunks. And the guy from Angola could be one of the, breakout freshmen in college basketball this season, certainly. But Syracuse, certainly handled their own on the boards. And it's because they're committed to it. And specifically to O'Shea Brissett, he knows where to be on the floor. He's a smart rebounder. And I've read some stuff, of course, from our colleagues here at syracuse.com, Mike Waters and Donna DeToda, and have seen some things along the way here. That O'Shea Brissett works on his rebounding. He takes pride in his rebounding. And it's look, half of rebounding is the old want to, right? You just have to have the effort. You just have to want the ball. But it's about positioning. It's about being in a high percentage area to get the ball. And O'Shea Brissett is committed to that. Pascal Chukwu and Barama Sadaibi, before Sadaibi fouled out tonight, these guys are hitting the boards. Merrick Dolezaj, who continues to, endear himself to Syracuse fans as a rising fan favorite. 10 points tonight, but he's hitting the boards, had a big rebound, a couple of big rebounds, honestly, down the stretch for Syracuse. So they are committed to that. And there is just an abundant difference at the top of the zone. I see Scott here in the comments say no defense last year. This year, it's what we're hanging our hat on. And Scott is exactly right. And the big difference is 2 things, really. Top of the zone is bigger. You've got Tyus Battle and Frank Howard there. And look, nothing against John Gillen. That kid played his guts out for Syracuse last year, beat Duke, as we know, and had 43 points against NC State and was a big player for this team. But he's 6 feet. And at the top of the zone, it just really created a weakness at the top of the zone for the Orange. And Torian Thompson, who is not here, of course, transferred on to Seton Hall, was, how can I put this, allergic to defense last year. So this is a more committed team on defense, this more committed team rebounding, and they don't have to be sold on the fact that that leads to breaks the other way. That leads to good things. So I think Syracuse fans are really going to enjoy watching this team for that reason, and you hope it continues throughout the season. And it pleases the head coach. The best way to Jim Boeheim's heart is not only a good Italian meal, usually chicken marsala, it is rebounding, and it is committing yourself on defense. And for a young team that's trying to find its way here, this was a big win for that. You can see the chemistry developing, and it's good to see other guys step up. Now, Tyus Battle made plays, and Tyus Battle was big down the stretch. You could see Frank Howard step up. You could certainly see O'Shea Brissett step up tonight. You saw just a number of players really step up when they needed to in this game. So you got a non-conference win in your back pocket. That is huge. And you got Kansas next. Kansas is a top 10 team. Kansas is going to be the ultimate measuring stick for Syracuse. This was a great measuring stick game. Now, listen, we know why Syracuse didn't make the tournament last year. I brought it up. It's non-conference games, lack of non-conference wins. This is not everything. You can't completely, hang your hat on this, but RPI, strength of schedule, Ken Palm ratings, the NCAA selection committee looks at all this stuff. The wins that Syracuse has in hand, Iona and Oakland and a couple of wins already, they're in the top 150 of the Ken Palm ratings and in the RPI, which is big for Syracuse. This was a big one, obviously. These next 3 games, all top 75 teams. Even if you play and lose to Kansas, it falls in that, quality loss category. It's who you're playing. It's who you're challenging yourself against. So this is a big stretch for Syracuse, not only to get 2 out of 3 wins if they can, but just to show the committee that they played some teams. And here in late November, to see a team play the complete game that they did, to respond. Now, there's always a couple of things we can nitpick about and look at weaknesses. I think Syracuse has to do much better with open three-pointers. What were they, 2 of 18, I believe, tonight from three-point range? So you need more of those. This team still doesn't have like that go-to bona fide three-point shooter. Tyus Battle can hit him. Frank Howard can hit him. Merrick Dolezaj had a nice 3 tonight, but you're not going to see him taking 4 or 5 of those a game. Geno Thorpe had a limited role tonight because Tyus Battle was, he was certainly, pardon the pun, battling through with his back injury. But, Syracuse just doesn't have that automatic three-point shooter. So they're going to be looking for that. O'Shea can hit him, but, he's been spotty here and there. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. But what they established tonight was a great non-conference win. They're committed to rebounding and defense. Frank Howard just looks like a different player, and you want to see that continue throughout the season. Look, even though they struggle at the free throw line, the combination of Pascal Chukwu and Brahma Sadaibi, I think, has been a pleasant surprise so far. Pascal is a lot more athletic than I think people gave him credit for, and you can just see the improvement there. He's had a couple of bad games, don't get me wrong. It's going to be a process. But Brahma tonight, he fouled out, and he's got to work on that. But look who was reffing the game. If you guys are familiar with Teddy TV, Teddy Valentine, some of those calls. Teddy loves his camera time. You could tell. So he was fighting through that. But Brahma, there was one play in particular. He kind of grabbed a rebound, was kind of fighting to get up there, went up to the rim a couple of times. He's a lot more impressive around the basket than I kind of thought coming in and what I had heard about Brahma coming into this point. So you've got a growing pair down there that can complement each other. It's 10 fouls. You don't want the ball in their hands down the stretch because, hashtag free throws matter at this point. But I just like the balance that seems to be building here. The backcourt, offensively and defensively, you got a great bench guy, great energy guy in Merrick Dolezaj. Geno Thorpe can play that role a little bit. We've mentioned, this O'Shea Brissett and the upside he has because he can rebound. He's got to work on his defense. What freshman doesn't. Certainly can shoot the ball. Certainly can get open. So you've got a team that took a big step tonight, that gained some confidence tonight. The key thing, too, for me was I was wondering how this team was going to be out of the Thanksgiving break because they didn't play over the Thanksgiving weekend. They played Wednesday night against Toledo, took some time off. Maryland, this was their 3rd game in 4 days. Maryland lost to St. Bonaventure Friday night, beat New Mexico Saturday night, then come here to Syracuse to play their 3rd game in 4 days. By the way, St. Bonaventure, take note of that. St. Bonaventure beat Maryland Friday night, didn't even have their best player on the floor. Syracuse has the Bonnies coming up. You fans that remember that Syracuse-St. Bonaventure rivalry back in the day. Kids, that was the rivalry before Georgetown, before St. John's, before Duke, of course, and what has come in the modern era. St. Bonaventure used to be it. St. Bonaventure's good. I cannot wait to see that backcourt matchup versus the emerging backcourt that Syracuse has here with Tyus Battle and Frank Howard. I'm getting ahead of myself now, but, sometimes timing is everything. But I was wondering if rust would be the case. That was not the case at all. This was a well-played game, back and forth. I was tweeting it during the game. I'll have to look at the official stats to see. Let's see what we got here on the stats in terms of – just give me a moment here to find it. This game had 20 lead changes and 15 ties. That just goes to show you the back and forth game that this was between these two. So Syracuse gets the win in the ACC-Big Ten Challenge, and now they get a few days to get ready for Kansas. They get a few more days for Tyus Battle to, kind of negotiate that back injury. But now he knows how he can play on. Tyus knows what he's capable of. He's got Frank Howard backing him up. And he doesn't have to press. He played 36 minutes in this game, but he doesn't have to be the guy at all times. If anything, he played it smart tonight and stepped up when needed, but let Frank lead the way. Tyus Battle wants the ball in his hands when it matters, and he did down the stretch, and that's great. But he doesn't have to press for 40 minutes. This kind of looked like it would be the Tyus Battle show early in the year. But to see these other players stepping up, that's big. That's big for Syracuse. And now you get a week, essentially, to work on Kansas, to get Tyus Battle healthy, take it easy with him at practice. He, as I mentioned a moment ago, he kind of knows his limitations and his capabilities and what he can play through now, but has some more time to get that treatment on that back. And it's a big confidence booster for this team. It's good that they got this win at home, but now they're going to leave the Carrier Dome for the first time coming up Saturday when they play Kansas. This game is in Miami on a neutral floor. A lot of Syracuse fans down there in Florida. I'm sure some of you are watching from Florida or, somewhere close by to that game. And we know how Orange Nation travels. They'll be there at that game. Kansas, certainly has a strong following nationally as well. So I think you're going to see a good balance of fans between those two schools at that game. But I love it. I love that we're here in late November and December, and we're chewing on good, meaty, not leftovers, good, meaty day of the meal kind of college basketball games. Maryland tonight, Kansas on Saturday, UConn at Madison Square Garden to follow. I mean, not to get too ahead of ourselves here, but Madison Square Garden has not been the home court advantage in recent years that you would think it is. Syracuse kind of has to get that building back a little bit. We're looking to do that against UConn a week from tonight. But for now, the Orange are victorious. Tyus Battle with 18 points, big three down the stretch, huge plays. Frank Howard, as we mentioned, got that near triple-double, but in certainly non-traditional fashion, 15 points, 10 assists, and 7 steals on the night. O'Shea Brissett steps up with 15 points. Marek Dolezaj with 10. The Orange get 22 points off turnovers, win the rebounding battle, 39-33. You get a big non-conference win in their back pocket. Thanks for joining us here on Facebook Live. And again, if you're just joining us here or watching the replay, we put the replay up on YouTube, and you can find it in my recap on syracuse.com. Please read that tomorrow morning, by the way. We'll have it up and ready for you first thing in the morning. We're going to be here doing a Facebook Live after some select non-conference games. So here's kind of the running schedule. We'll be here after Kansas on Saturday. I'll be here after the UConn game next Monday, and I'll follow Jim Boeheim's press conference. So when the game's over, watch Jim Boeheim's press conference here on syracuse.com, and I'll follow right after that. We'll pick a couple other non-conference games. Georgetown maybe, St. Bonaventure certainly I think will be here. Or if something crazy happens, I can always just hit the button and hop on here and do this. And then we'll be here through ACC play. So kind of, put it, in your head or put a reminder in your phone. Just know that we'll be here doing some Facebook Live after Syracuse basketball games this season. For now, Brent Axe, syracuse.com. Make sure you read all of our coverage on syracuse.com. My recap to come on Tuesday morning. Thanks for joining us here. The Orange get a big win over Maryland tonight, 72-70, the final score. Have a great rest of your night. We'll talk to you again soon, everybody.